Straight ahead, a look at non-traditional but successful black-owned businesses. A beer baron, Stan Scott of Crescent Distributing in New Orleans, a public relations and political consulting firm, the Nathan Group in Baton Rouge, and Barbara Lamont of WCCL, an independent television station in New Orleans, all on today's edition of Folks. Hello everyone, I'm Sonya Masingale, and welcome to another edition of Folks. While we gear up for our special Black History Month programming, we thought we'd take a look at several folk segments from the past. Today's theme is non-traditional and successful black-owned businesses in Louisiana. We begin today's program with Stan Scott of Crescent Distributing in New Orleans, a former White House aide turned beer baron.
In the wee hours of the morning, when most folks are just turning over in their beds for one last round of dreams, the folks at Crescent Distributing in Harahan, Louisiana, are already at work, loading up the beer trucks for the first deliveries of the day. Crescent is one of the largest Miller beer distributors in the country. Stanley Scott, the new owner and chief executive officer of Crescent, is often there at dawn with his employees, seeing to it that the trucks roll out smoothly on their way to serve the New Orleans, Jefferson, and Plaquemine parish areas. Hands-on management is something that Scott knows all about. After 2 tours of duty in the White House under Presidents Nixon and Ford and a prestigious career at the Philip Morris Company, he knows about managing people. But why a beer distributorship?
Well, the decision was something that evolved. I majored in journalism in college, the University of Kansas and Lincoln University in Missouri. My family was in the newspaper business in Atlanta. They're still in that business more than 60 years. And I've always felt, and I was always taught, that it's not enough to be successful as an individual. We have to reach out and try to give something back to the community. But in addition to that, we discussed capitalism, the capitalistic system under which we live here in America, in the family, around the family table. We discussed it when we were riding those streetcars in Atlanta, conjugating verbs at night after we put the newspaper to bed. My grandmother, the matriarch of the family, after my grandfather passed, and was really the person who instilled in us the need to get involved more than just owning a job. And the theory went something like this. We live in a capitalistic system. We have consumers and producers, and we do not yet, at this point, produce very much as a people. And I'm referring to black people. And to really be an integral part of this society, we need more people who are entrepreneurs. So I've always kept that in the back of my mind. And when the opportunity presented itself as an executive at Philip Morris, when the decision was made to sell the Crescent Distributing Company, owned by Miller Brewing Company, a subsidiary of Philip Morris, I just happened to be at the right place at the right time and had earned some wherewithal, and I decided to make the investment to make that big leap.
The beer industry may be a new area for Scott and a bit of a risk, but Scott believes in taking intelligent risks. Here he explains.
Well, I think that one of the essentials in being successful in business is to not just look back and take pride in what has been successful and what has gotten that business leader or those persons to where they are, but have the vision to look ahead and, if necessary, to seek out all the information available, all of the knowledge at hand, and then make some hard decisions. And sometimes that requires risk-taking. The intelligent part of it, I believe, is when one gathers all the information available before making that decision.
The parent company for Miller Beer is Philip Morris, a leader in the tobacco industry as well. With the trends in health consciousness, people are certainly smoking less. Is the health trend affecting the beer business as well?
I think it impacts the alcohol malt beverage business in that in our country we have ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys, if you will. And there's no doubt over the past 10 years there's been a move in certain elements of our society, dieting, the environment, everybody wants to be slim and skinny, jogging, all those good things. But the fact is, and history has proven this, you never leave this world alive. And there's a degree of risk in getting up every morning. And I think it depends on your perspective on what you feel and how you're impacted by these ebbs and flows. My philosophy is try to drive down the middle of the road.
How does Scott plan to keep people buying Miller Beer?
In terms of tobacco, and I'm not trying to be evasive, tobacco, of course, was our first cash crop in this country, going all the way back to Jamestown. And there's no doubt that one has to look around for ashtrays when we walk into a living room today. This was not the case 10 years ago. You got to determine as to whether you're allowed to smoke in a given area. I think the key is moderation in whatever we do. That's served us well as a nation over the years. The challenge for any business located in this region of the country where we're experiencing some downturn in our economy is to try to, first of all, stay above board. Secondly, to put forth an even greater effort in tough times to withstand the downturn in the economy, and to try and be more innovative in the marketplace. While the beer business nationally, the industry is mature, but that does not preclude opportunities out there. I don't see this as a problem. I see it as a challenge, and we turn challenges into opportunities, and that's what we'll be doing here at the Crescent Distributing Company. We've got quality products in our brands. Genuine Draft, the fastest-selling new brand introduction over the past couple of years. The opportunities exist here. It's a matter of marketing, doing a better job of marketing to the communities. But a parallel to that is showing the community what we stand for, our philosophy, and part of that we don't mind saying is living with the community. We want to give back. We want to be a part of the community. I think we gain credibility for our products. I call it enlightened self-interest.
Scott's personal philosophy is one that has taken him from a small boy in an achieving family in Atlanta to the White House in Capitol Hill, to executive boardrooms in New York City, and to the purchase of this $50 million business in the New Orleans area.
My philosophy, as far back as I can remember, and I don't give myself credit, I give my parents credit, they always advised to think positively and take a negative situation and turn it into a positive. And what I found in times of crisis, in times of tragedy, in the worst of times, if we look hard enough, we can find some positives growing out of a negative situation and take that initiative and try to build positives into the negative, from the negative, if you will. I'm a person who enjoys an interface with people, and I enjoy getting up in the morning. I'm looking for opportunities, coming here. I enjoy being personal with the employees, whether it's the person who cleans a warehouse or my top salesperson.
Next, a visit with the Nathan Group of Baton Rouge, a very successful political consulting and public relations firm.
The Nathan Group, may I help you?
The Nathan Group has only been in existence for about 8 years. The first public relations firm in this area and perhaps the country to specialize in delivering messages to the minority community from majority politicians. How they came to settle in Louisiana and perform their particular services is an unusual story.
In 1979, my husband and I decided we were tired of working for major corporations, teaching school, etc., and that we wanted to move to a warmer climate. And in 1979, Baton Rouge, Louisiana was the best place in the whole country to be. We had the lowest unemployment rate, the best standard of living. Everything about Baton Rouge was conducive to where we wanted to live, a good place to raise our family. So we came to Baton Rouge, no job, no jobs lined up. But we knew that with our education, we ought to be able to get a job until we opened up a business. And we had a business in mind that we wanted to open up. Not this business. And I, interestingly enough, had a conversation with my neighbor, and my neighbor said that in Baton Rouge, everyone talks politics, everyone is either a Tiger or a Jaguar fan, and everyone eats at Piccadilly's once a week. So in trying to get involved in the community, I volunteered in a political campaign. The governor's race was going on at that time, and I went to one of the Dave Treen phone banks and volunteered. And I remember going home one evening, and I told Bethel, if I were not working for that gentleman, I would not vote for him. And Bethel said, well, that's crazy. Why do you say that? And I said, well, because they have no earthly idea how to talk to black people. I don't think they understand that. They certainly don't mean it, but they really don't. And that's really kind of how we got in this business. We volunteered a whole lot and stuck our noses in, and some folks didn't want us to stick our noses in, and we kept going. And finally, we got our first race in, I think it was 1981, if I'm not mistaken, with Byron Stringer, who is now city court judge here. And that was our first real political race. I think our price was $15 just to make it legal at the time. And I remember the headlines in the paper the next day after the race. It said Byron Stringer wins with something like 87% of the inner city vote. So it worked, and we just went on to work with district attorneys and senators and governors, and it's been real interesting.
Sandra Nathan is a registered Republican, and husband Bethel is independent, but this has little to do with the service they supply various politicians. They believe in promoting the person, not the party.
I'm a Republican. I'm a registered Republican. Bethel is an independent. We don't, people ask me all the time, or tell me all the time, you know, you work for all those Republicans. Well, they pay. Simple as that. And this is a business. But I have found, though, and this is very important, I have found, though, that they have or are willing to pay a professional's fee for doing a professional job for them. And more liberal candidates generally are not. So it isn't so much that we go looking for Republicans. Republicans in 1988 need our help. Liberal Democrats do not.
Interaction between president and vice president of the Nathan Group varies from day to day at the office. The Nathans often arrive separately, but the Nathans apparently would have it no other way.
It's an interesting kind of closeness. Sometime at night we become husband and wives. Sometimes we go through here all day long, and believe it or not, we are communicating, but it's not on a personal manner. Sometimes it's difficult for me. Not for him, but sometimes it's difficult for me, and I have to realize, well, okay, he's a little crazy today because things are not going well. And I know things are not going well, so it works out okay. I'm a pretty easygoing person, I think.
Oh, it's the greatest enjoyment in the world. I mean, really and truly, I couldn't, there's no way that my success or whatever success this business has is really because of her. It's more of a partner than a wife. We think of husband and wife maybe once every 2 months, once every month or so, but it's a great joy and a great experience. It really is.
Bethel Nathan is vice president of the Nathan Group in charge of the creative end of the business.
Once we recognized that there was a need, and I guess a niche, we started to really look at it. As you know, back in the 1960s, major corporations started to look at the black market and recognize and understand that it was a market that they could not any longer overlook, and then became the creation of the major black agencies like Burrell, like Mingo Jones, but no one had ever really attacked politics from that standpoint. So that gave us our niche, gave us our area, and we create very much similar to the same way as a Coca-Cola campaign, as a McDonald's campaign. We sell an individual. We don't sell Democrats. We don't sell Republicans. We sell an individual, and we sit down and go in the campaign, talk with the candidate, understand what the overall message is, that the theme that they want to convey, and then put that down in language that blacks understand and respond to.
What kind of indication have you had that what you do actually works?
That was a #1 question when we went into business, because it is so very new, and people say, how do I know it works? Well, the governor of South Carolina, the morning after he was elected, indicated that the reason that he became governor was because of the work that we did. He cited us in that interview. Polling data has also gone on to substantiate that because of our work coming in, it has caused name ID to raise for a candidate. It has brought about a positive image, and the results have been in numbers at the ballot box on Election Day. 98% of our business is in politics. We don't sell a hamburger. We sell a candidate. I would certainly be in no way, shape, form, or fashion try to tell McDonald's how they ought to do, but I certainly know how to improve an image, and I think that's what we do, what makes us able to do it better than anyone else is doing it. I've been around the country since we went into business in 1980 and haven't seen anyone who does exactly what we do and has amassed the track record that and the client list that we have.
In the 7 or 8 years that you've been here, you've seen Baton Rouge go from the best place to live in the country to possibly one of the worst, at least employment-wise and environmentally. How does that affect your commitment to this area?
I'm here to stay. I have not been back to Chicago since we left. I'm here. I love it here. I like the people here. It's been tough. These 9 years has not been easy, but I have loved every minute of it. I'm glad I came. I think that it was probably the best thing we did, moving south, moving to a climate like Baton Rouge. And I think if we work hard, continue to work hard, we can achieve all the things that we want to achieve. I still have not opened up that business that I came here to open up.
Well, I'm originally from Houston, Texas, and one of the reasons that we chose Baton Rouge, when we came to Baton Rouge from Chicago, we had looked at some 16 cities and said, where do we want to go? I wanted to go somewhere that reminded me of Houston, but had a growth, and Baton Rouge does. It's a port city, very much like Houston, the 4th largest in the country, I believe it is. I've watched the downturn in other cities, and I actually believe that it's going to change. I wouldn't live anywhere else in the world. The food is good, climate's great. You couldn't drag me out of here. And I just don't think we could have done what we did anywhere else but here in Baton Rouge. People, I've read statistics about Austin, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia, and these places. I just don't think we could. I don't think we could have built the kind of business. We were in the right place at the right time. So it's home to me, and I love every bit of it.
There's only one place for me, Baton Rouge, Louisiana's Baton Rouge.
Our final featured for today reintroduces us to Barbara Lamont of New Orleans, making history as the first black woman in Louisiana to own her own television station.
1 year after we first met Barbara Lamont, WCCL Channel 49 is on the air with programming appropriate to an independent television station, including several first-run shows, and daily morning news from CBS. The teleport is fully operational and the most advanced technical facility of its kind in the area. And Barbara, well, she's fully operational as well and optimistic about her future.
Well, here you are a year later. The teleport is fully operational. WCCL is on the air. How did you get here from last year?
Gently and with a big stick. It was, it's been a good year. It's been a good year. I didn't realize how good a year it was until December of around Christmas time. And I had been moaning and groaning all year about the problems and 3 steps forward and 4 steps backward and just equipment delays. Timing is everything in getting on the air. We had a full staff on board since July, so we were looking at 6, 7, 8 months of pre-op, which was important for us to get functioning as a team, to start pre-selling and put together this facility. From the furniture, we were totally computerized, so a lot of training had to be done. And in December, I looked around, and I was still short on working capital, and my equipment, my transmitter was not here yet. And then I looked back at the December before, December of '87, and I said, we didn't have a stick in the ground, not a piling, not a plan on paper a year ago. And we built 2 major facilities, the New Orleans Teleport, which was up and running last June, and WCCL TV. And that's not bad for a year.
Even the physical facility of WCCL is an accomplishment. They have one of the most compact and efficient stations around with only 5,000 square feet. George Stantis, who has had experience in starting new television stations, designed the station. This was an abandoned glue factory. As you can see from these pictures, WCCL has come a long way.
When you were called from the lofty halls of 69 in San Diego and told and brought to this facility before, did you see what it would become?
Not for a few hours, anyway. I had to stand there in shock looking at what we had originally. And then slowly and gently the ideas came to us, and we turned it into a very unusual facility. It's a full-service television station confined within 5,000 square feet, which is pretty rare, and we're pretty proud of it.
We have one of the finest small station management teams in the country. We have 6 people who head our major departments. We were very fortunate to be able to get local people who had, some of them had been out of the industry for reasons like childbirth or marriage, some of whom had moved to Los Angeles or New York or Washington and Minneapolis in one case, and moved back home because of marriage or family and were not really working, recent converts back to New Orleans, if you will. We were able to get a number of people who lived here and grown up here, and then we were able to attract some top professionals from California and Boston and Michigan, people I'd known for many, many years with a lot of startup experience. Our business manager came from a startup independent in Little Rock. Our vice president and general manager, George Stantis, from Channel 69 in San Diego, an old friend. And his partner is still in California doing all our program buying, so it's like family.
Working with Barbara Lamont is an inspiration. And if she were standing here, I'd say the same thing, really. She's an exciting, intelligent, very perceptive, and a wonderful human being. And wonderful human beings are the people you work with. You know, she's sensitive to other people's feelings. She worries about the employees. She worries about their welfare. Her areas and scope of responsibilities are very, very broad. And putting on a television station, and as it relates to the economics, the burden on Barbara has been enormous. She never lets anybody know. She never lets anybody know. Everything's, oh, fine. Everything's wonderful. Because I'm involved deeply with it, I know exactly what she's going through. And she's a person to be admired, greatly admired.
Building WCCL and the New Orleans Teleport has been an uphill battle for Barbara. This year she has experienced some problems with WCCL, some relating to the fact that she is a black woman and the only black woman in this country to own a television station.
Well, it's a problem for me. It's sad. It saddens me that that should be the case. Hopefully it won't be that way much longer. There'll be other black women who will be able to do this. Owning a station is an elite profession. There aren't too many people who have enough money, and there aren't too many people that have enough experience. But they're out there, and hopefully they'll take advantage of the windows of opportunity, which are slamming shut, unfortunately. They've done away with the female preference before the FCC in the comparative hearing, and now the distress sale rulings make it, or try to make it, more difficult for us to get stations. It's a plus and a minus. We have some problems with advertisers. We have some problems with equipment suppliers. For a long time, the Japanese said they didn't want to sell to minorities because we don't buy cars. That's not true. It's attracting a lot of attention because, in a way, I'm like a unicorn. So people know who I am. And we're doing an extensive national promotion campaign promoting the telecommunications gateway which we've built here. We have a 1,000-foot microwave tower in Algiers. We have a fully commercial teleport across the street, transmit-receive facility, which is a major communications facility, and we have a real hot new independent television station.
If you had any advice to give to women entrepreneurs, what would it be?
Well, the first thing I would advise is to get your personal life together. Make sure you're surrounded by people and friends or family who love you a lot and are willing to put up with the terrible demanding hours, 16 to 20-hour day work days that you put in for maybe 15 years. That's the first thing. Second of all, don't be afraid of technology. Don't be afraid to go into new areas. Don't be afraid of banking and finance. Even though you may run a print shop or a clothing store or a television station. You have to know options and warrants. You have to know what the euro-dollar is and what it's doing on any given day, what the prime rate is, and who to hit for what.
Barbara Lamont is a pioneer in the field of telecommunications. WCCL seems to be on its way to success, but even pioneers need a break. And where will Barbara be in another year?
Oh, I know where I'll be. I'll be lying on a big, inflated mattress in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, singing my favorite songs. I will hopefully be able to take a vacation at the end of the year, and that's all I'm looking forward to now, a nice little uninterrupted 2 or 3 week vacation.
Well, that's all for today's program. Be sure to join us next week for another edition of Folks. Bye-bye.